I've got my brother Roger O. Williams online. He's author of the book The Boy, the Plants, and the Animals. He is no stranger to the program. I'm trying to fix this. All right. As I said before, no stranger to the program. He's been in studio and talking about something quite different, his plays, because he's also a playwright, but an author. He's written many books. Let me just tell you about some of the books he's written. Turn Back Blow, Murder for Sale, Love Will Survive, Only Animals Allowed in Heaven, and now The Boy, the Plants, and the Animals, a novel by our brother Roger Williams, Roger O. Williams. Roger, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, my sister. Good morning, good morning.
How are you doing?
You're welcome. I'm okay. Taking it easy.
All right. Well, I must say that I've been reading your book, and you listen. You're quite a writer, aren't you? You're right. You're a playwright. You're an author, and obviously somebody who is very concerned about making sure that you put out the best. Well, let us start, and it's inspired too. This is what I everything I read from you is inspired. And The Boy, the Planet, and the Animals, no less, just as inspired. Read where someone said it's imaginative, it's urgent, and it's deeply rooted in questions of culture, ecology, and justice. So let's talk about what inspired you, though, to tell this story of, as you note, habitat loss through animals and plants as speaking characters rather than through humans alone.
Yes. So first of all, good morning to your listeners, and thanks for having me. So I got the inspiration like around 2 to 9 days after I released Only Animals Allowed in Heaven. And I put it in the vault where as soon as I got an idea, I put it there until I'm ready. But what triggered this idea, I was on my way to work one morning and I saw a possum, and that's an animal who kind of looked like a skunk or a large rat. And he ran across my way and he went to an open piece of land. And he ran on top of a mold, a large hill-like. There's concrete. And I said, that is his nest. That's nice, that's a female. So about 2 weeks after my sister, I was walking across that land and there was no possum nest. The land was cleared by a bulldozer to accommodate a nursing home, parking lot for a nursing home. And I was like, man, that possum lost his home because of humans need to expand to make more money. And I was like, before I started to research the project and I realized that habitat loss is a worldwide problem, not just in Jamaica. And I said, you know what, I am going to write a story that shows you how animals are affected by human development. So I came up with this story about these set of animals and plants who their home got destroyed by a park. And then I switched it from a park to a botanical garden. And I was like, I don't think the government would really destroy a botanical garden. What other development infrastructure would the government put over some animals and plants? I was like, these highways that they're running through hills. And a lot of our Jamaican blackbirds live in these hills. So I know they affect animals and plants. And I was like, that is what I'm going to write. So I came up with this story about this asthmatic orphan boy who was recruited by a group of animals and plants in a hill after these animals and plants learn about the development, the implementation of a highway. And to answer your question about why I chose animals and plants, animals and plants, they cannot speak for themselves. They depend on advocate humans to speak for them. Because I am from Forest, Manchester, and it's so ironic that when I was writing this book, the people of Forest was going through the same problem of highway cutting out through Forest. people who have food stalls were being affected. People who have bars and liquor shops. So you will find out in this story, it's not just animals and plants that affect human beings, but the difference between human beings and animals and plants. And people can protest for themselves. Who are going to protest for the plants and the animals? They have to depend on human rights activists and people who love nature and appreciate nature to speak for them. So my sister, that is why I said, you know what, I'm going to tell the story through the eyes and of the animals and plants.
And this is really
interesting.
This is really effective in the book, the storytelling. And just our listeners know that this is an allegory, really, eco-novel, if you will. And as you heard us talking about, it has these richly symbolic animal and plant characters. When you read the book, you'll find out more. So I hear you saying, Roger, that this was your way of giving voice to the voiceless, or showing that humans aren't the only beings with agency.
Yes.
Congratulations on that. Well done. Many of your characters, and I wanted to go into the characters in the book, because this is really phenomenal. This is in itself is a side that we have to deal with all by itself. But many of your characters, like for example the Rastafarian Kalalu, a mentally disturbed marijuana plant, these carry cultural and symbolic weight. Was this deliberate on your part to decide which plants and animals to give voices to? Because when you talk about a Rastafarian Kalalu, you're talking about a cultural group in Jamaica that has agency, but is recognized. And you write about Rastafari, even your plays. So I see that this is something that you're doing. And a mentally disturbed marijuana plant. Talk to us about that.
Yes, when I'm writing a story, I just don't choose, after I get what we call the log line, which is the basic concept, I just don't go ahead and write a story. I think about what characters should I use that can portray what even human beings would be affected by, what animals would be affected by. So I said, you know what, let me think about what group, what group, or what people, what individual would be affected by society. And the reason why I use a Rasta plant, I'm from you would say a Rasta place. I'm from Forest. Now I've been used to by KaBu. But I realized that Rasta voice is not so much appreciated by the bigger heads. Yet Rasta has been contributed to reggae music, to the development of Jamaica in tourism and so forth. I think this is a group that's not so much heard. I think there's still classism. That's why you see I insert lines like where the Rasta plant said, you know, boy, you don't listen to Rasta. These are a way of injecting in the story how a group like this is such important to the Jamaican history needs to have a stronger voice and sometimes face classism.
I know it's that again. Is that Jabush, right? Jabush? No? Jabush?
Oh, Jabush is the Rasta.
Yes, Jabush.
yes. You know, and he has his own way of thinking, and he has his own way of that profoundness of. But I show you how society can, even though the Rasta man may have something important, somebody may want to shut him up, and he may have a little solution towards it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because he says in the book, it is important to know when to voice your objection. This is Jabush saying it, you know. You sometimes have to act like you agree with someone until you is out of them sight.
yes. That's in real life. That's what we have to do. But that is going to come from a conscious plant, you know, a Rastafarian plant. The mentally disturbed marijuana, it's all right. I didn't want the marijuana plant to be the Rasta. It would be too on the nose. It would be too obvious. So I said, you know what, I mean, this is a plant that you're growing up hearing that it's bad. I personally see it as a hypocrisy, as a youth, as a child, as his personal experience where we don't move from side of that Rasta man and smoking that bad bush. And to see, to at least to see that society has no acting as if that bush is the same. Rastaman has been telling us that this bush is a good plant, some have medicinal value, but we grew up learning that it's a bad plant. And I see now people are capitalizing on it. So I said, you know what, let me put a a marijuana plant there. But I didn't want it to be just a regular marijuana plant. I want it to be different. And it's not just the mad. There's something about it where people read the book, they can see that, oh, he's obsessed with, the celestial bodies and, so I play on the highness of what marijuana can do, but in a positive way. Yeah. So I think the interest is of having in the mentality.
And I think I might have mixed up the names for you there when I said Jabush, because...
No, Jabush is the Rasta and mad trash.
Right, okay. Yes, because you also, you know what I like about the book? You all have courage.
Yes. Yeah,
all courage on the book.
Exactly, and these are plants and things that the younger generation probably don't know about. We need to interdiscuss. My sister, I believe that Jamaica, and this is my person, I think Jamaica is losing its culture, and we need to get back to our roots. And this is one of the objects of the book, so people can, these are medicinal plants. What can you do with this? What can we get back these fuckers, these plants and plants back, these, go back to our naturalness, our nature.
Yes. Hold the line for me, please. So let me take a quick break. The playwright, Roger Williams, is the author of the book, The Boy, the Plants, and the Animals. And basically, as a blurb on the book says, when a group of animals and plants in Jamaica, in a Jamaican basic forest, learned that the government of Jamaica has implemented the construction of a major highway that is supposed to run through and destroy their forest home, the helpless animals and plants enlist the help of a 12-year-old asthmatic orphan boy. And even this in itself is, I think, really brilliant, the way you... this young boy who is ill, who has asthma, who the plants went to for assistance. I want to talk a little bit more about the characters, because obviously you're drawing from Jamaican folklore, you're drawing from oral storytelling, and some of it also your imagination. So tell us a little bit more about the characters, the different characters in the book.
All right. So for the protagonist, which is the hero of the boy, I decided for a while I have to think, okay, what child, what gender? Should I use a male? Should I use a female? So I pulled a little bit of myself because he has a little bit of slightly delinquency. So not bad, as in only animals alone in heaven. But I used a boy, and then I said, what fitness I could give him, what major hurdle that could also affect the story. So I said, what, why not use make him he's asthmatic, where if he has to help plants, then that there's a possibility he may be affected by the plants, because pollen is also one of the triggers of asthma. Showers normally wet, cold, so that is also one of the triggers of asthma, because you want something to go against your character. So it's like Jaws, that movie, Roy Schneider character was afraid of water or something like that. So you want something that's going to affect your main protagonist. So I chose asthma. And when I chose the role, I said, yes, this is what I want the boy to do. And I said, okay, what home he's going to grow in? Does he have family? I said, why not make him be an orphan? Yes. Which makes the story a little more interesting. Yes. So he's among other group of boys where you can tell the difference between these boys in a home. And I also want to show you that you have people out there who raise children who is not theirs. This is a part of, you have this in Jamaica, growing up seeing this. So I think it's very important to show parenthood, that maternity, even though you're not the biological mother, you still have people out there who grow children, who cares about children, who, even if they don't have any, that is a part of society that can contribute, and also show how religion can affect someone's life, even from a younger age, that church life, that belief, so that's why I chose him to be an asthmatic orphan boy.
And this goes through, and this is obvious, well, because I'm a student of literature, I saw a lot of that. And this is one of the reasons why I want to raise these issues in the discussion this morning as we review the book, because one of the striking things about this book is that each character seems to represent not just a species, but a personality type or even a political stance.
Yeah.
So how do you see these symbolic roles working together in the story? Because this is a book that it's written in this language. It's about plants and a young boy and animals and so on. So on the surface of it, yes, a nice little children's book, but it has a really, really deep political meaning and significance.
Yes, if you Google this book, the AI overview is just so amazing. AI is going to immediately tell you that this book has distinct characters. This is what AI overview is going to tell you. This is a book that has these unique, distinct characters. My sister, the reason why I chose is different characters, even though they're plants or they're animals. They are like a reflection of people in the society, that various people needs to come together to work towards a common goal, even if you don't agree with what your neighbor is saying. If you are facing a problem and it affects everybody in the community, whether you're a Rasta, a Christian, a Muslim, a farm, whatever your religious belief or your personal belief, you have to work together to achieve that objective. So that is why I use different characters with, different unique personalities. Some may say it's a little controversial characters, but we have these people. We have people like that in life, and they have to work together. And sometimes they can't live together. I growing up see neighbors who are Rastas and Christians, they go at it, but they all have a common ground.
And that's why I think the Kalaloo. Sorry, and that's why I think the Kalaloo is so important, because I might be digging deep into the Kalaloo, but to me, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know. Sometimes you get a question in literature test that asks what was the author thinking. But is Kalaloo a bridge between food, culture, and resistance? Because Kalaloo is so integral to Jamaican culture and life. Yes,
exactly, yes. And that is why, they would have a problem working with a boy want to know if he's a vegetarian or if he eats. So there's a conflict between the birds and the plants. And Rasta Jabush have a different opinion on working with this boy, and he has a concern, a genuinely concern, why he doesn't want, why they should work with this orphan boy, not knowing if he eats vegetables. So human beings can have a concern about a project, a concern about a leader, but test it out. Just don't be blind. You can do your research, but give it a try. So that is why that is the thing with the characters that I use to show that human beings can learn from these animals and plants as well.
And to stay with the characters just a little, there's also the warmonger, tomboy, working bee. And this one really jumps off the page. What conversations were you hoping to spark with the warmonger, tomboy, working bee?
I mean, we have these kind of people in society where they have a kind of, they are female, but they behave like males. And I grew up around them, I see them, but they are part of society too. And I want to show society the kind of interaction they can have with people within the society. Can they work together to have a common goal? Or you can have an individual who's peaceful, who's hot-headed, but at the same time, can they all work together with this common goal? And how do they like by their peers, whether by their fellow males or fellow female, how do they blend in? What can they offer in society? Because there is a society now that is kind of changing and kind of be open. So, hey, why not put a character there that is, I wouldn't want to use the word questionable, but at the same time can blend in with the unity, despite their differences.
Well, it's like real world politics, or even corporate powers. and this is what jumped off the page at me also. This must have been quite a balancing act for you to balance these fiery personalities, but at the same time to give us, the gentle blackbird. It wasn't the blackbird who asked about the tainos. No, it wasn't the blackbird. But somebody asked about the tainos in the book. If the tainos were, was it Old Charles? Who's Old Charles?
Yeah, I think Old Charles, the leader.
Yeah.
It was important to have a leader in the forest. Mm-hmm. We have the saying, he's the oldest tree in the forest, So I want it to be literal. What is the experience of the oldest tree in the forest? What he can tell the seedlings, what he can tell the sucker coming up. Just like growing up, you have the elder in the community. You learn from them, you learn what not to do. They may have a difference in approach from the younger ones, but can the younger one listen to the older heads and learn and not be so egoistic? What can they do even though they have a different way of approaching an issue? Is their wisdom beneficiary to what's going on to you, or should you use your youngerness of knowing about gadgets and this to counteract what they do? Or are you going to listen? You're going to have what I call balance, where you listen to what I'm saying and I listen to what I'm saying, and we come to a common ground, because we have a lot of ego going on here. And sometimes it's not about age, it's about experience. And sometimes it's not about the experience, it's about age. There's a lot of things to intertwine in this story that's educational to human beings if they read it.
Yes, and the boys and the loyal pet dog. These are some characters that are really well developed, and this is what helps to give the book the easy read, and you get lost in it as you're reading. I want to move on to the environmental and social themes that you've got there, because obviously at the end of the day, this is the core of the book, because it's talking about habitat loss. And as you said earlier, the central conflict is a multi-billion-dollar highway project which is threatening to erase the animals' habitat. And this feels very real, very today, especially in Jamaica right here. So were you inspired by a specific case? To what extent?
Yeah, definitely. As I said, it's Manchester running through the hills, because I didn't want it to be a flat. In real life, highway runs through multiple parishes, but some parishes like Farringdon is flat. Inspired by the hill behind my mother's house.
Yes.
And because Manchester is hilly, and you may not know, my sister, I realize, but our people, when a highway is being constructed through the hills, how it affects birds. Birds may not used to the elevation of buses and trailers running through that section of the hill, and that can affect birds by the fly and hit in the sides of these tall buses.
My brother, I know this very well. As a matter of fact, when the highway was being built, the North-South Highway, it affected not just people close to the highway, but so many others. And let me go to the birds. I remember my mother coming to visit, and we sit on the veranda, and she said, "What happened to the bird them? Where are the birds? What happened to the birds?" Because then you begin to miss something. And we're living in a virtual woodland. And the question, my mother is coming out of a deeper woodland. So she immediately missed the birds singing and so on. They're gradually coming back, but we lost them for a full 2 years. And, so I know that, and this is why the book is really, really so important. Hold the line for me. Let me take a break and come back.
Okay.
Access. Please get a copy of the book. And you were telling us, Roger, about the impact of highways on birds in particular, and how they sometimes fly right into vehicles and other obstacles to their death because of a change in the ecology.
Yes. And it's about important. It's an important thing, because what I want the leaders to do is to be more mindful. Pay more attention, do a more thoroughly process to the impact assessment, ecological impact assessment, environment impact assessment when they're doing this. And also, my sister, I would like them to to do more, to plant more, to plant. If you're going to cut down 500 trees, 1,000 trees to build a highway, plant back something, because trees are very important to us. Oxygen, it prevents soil erosion and all these things. So it's important for the leaders from the Jamaica Forestry Department to take it more serious and plant more.
Yes, I, would ask just our listeners and tell anyone you can to get a copy of this book and read it. It is a delightful read. That's the first thing, but also there's just so much there. You're going to tell us about where it is available in a little while, but so you gave the responsibility of saving the habitats to who in the book? It's the plant and animals themselves.
Yes.
Right, and not yes. Go ahead.
Remember that it also shows that how it affects human beings too.
Yes.
And as I said, it's like a perfect timing because I'm from Porus, and Porus has been cut out by a highway. And at the time when I was writing the book, people were protesting in Porus too that people they sell fruits on the side of the road. All those fruit vendors are less without people to sell their fruits. You have bars that close down. So it shows you that it's not only animals and plants that are being affected. Human beings are affected too. So what collaboration can people in the village and these communities that have been disturbed affected by these highways, what can they do? How can they work together to reach a common goal with the authorities, the government, the developers, what they can do in meetings, how they can discuss to save not only themselves, but the animals around them and plants around them, because nature is very important. Mm-hmm. You may not know, but a bird, the stinging of a bird can just help your mental health by just hearing the crickets at night. Even when you go to your bed at night and you hear the crickets and the toads, it gives you that country vibes. But can you imagine you build something that disturbs their ecosystem, that can even though it is development and it may important for the economy, but how can you find that balance where you provide a development for the economy, but at the same time you preserve nature?
Well taken. We talked about the style of the book already, and I want to talk about it a little bit more because this book is so different, and especially written by a Jamaican author. Now, this is different from global writings on or allegories, but that this is coming out of Jamaica, and I can't recall that we have anything. I said out of Jamaica, but I know you don't live here, but you're Jamaican and you pretend to live here, don't it?
Yes, ma'am.
You're always there. We don't. Yeah. Yes. So, do you know of anything near to it? I've never seen anything similar to it coming out of Jamaica. I could be wrong, but not my wide reading.
I gave a journalist, the Jamaican Queen, a copy when I came down there, and I asked her a few days ago. I said, "How is the book?" And she said, "It's not a typical novel." That's what people. She said this book is not the typical novel, and it kept her on the edge.
Yeah, that is
it's
true.
Not the typical novel.
That's
true.
What
she said.
Because stylistically, it moves between satire, fable, allegory, and so then one wonders how you manage to strike this balance. And there's humor, seriousness, and protest.
Yes.
Was it difficult?
Yes.
How difficult was it for you to strike this balance?
I don't know. I just have that gift of writing on sensitive topic and make it educational and entertaining. And the perfect example is my first book, Animal Cruelty, Turn Back Blow. Right now I have people said, Roger, I want to read Turn Back Blow, but I'm kind of worried. Animal lovers, is it graphic? And I said, no. I can't believe that somebody write a book about animal cruelty and don't show it graphic. So that comes down all my topics that are murder for sale, contract killing, only animals allowed in heaven, which is a tough topic to deal with. And this now, so my sister, it is a gift. And when I'm telling a story, I don't try to be like a writer. Oh, I want to impress somebody with big words. What I do, I go back to my roots of listening to the elders in the village who, when they tell their
It's
story,
obvious.
how they pause.
How they tell
pause
it.
and they light their pipe. At what point do they pause and light their pipe? What point they keep you in suspense? How they tell the story. What makes my storytelling effective is that I tell it from the roots.
It is obvious.
Roots.
It is obvious, my brother. And who do you imagine is your primary audience for this book? Is it written for young readers, for activists, for Jamaicans, or for a wider global audience?
I go for a wider global audience. I try to try to balance how can I write a story as important as this and make it readable to everybody. So I would say, yes, you want the leaders to read it, but at the same time, I want it to be entertaining. So, because, for instance, a Jamaican, in Jamaica, we have a society who likes entertainment. They don't so much about the education. So whatever you're doing, that's when I was writing Let's Show Them Love about HIV/AIDS. I try to make it as entertaining as possible, no matter how dark it is. So this book is definitely for everybody.
And we'll remind our listeners that we carried that from your from YouTube, your play Let's Show Them Love on this program. So when the readers finish reading this book, what do you hope that they feel most? Despair about habitat loss, or do you hope that there is collective resistance and that this collective resistance can succeed?
Yes, I hope when they read finish the boy, the plants, and the animals, they're more aware, because habitat loss is not so much a topic that people talks about. You know, so it's not something that the younger heads would really see. Even if they see it on TV and hear activists talking about it, they won't even just lean towards it. But now in this book, that's why I make it so entertaining. So I want them to be aware of the topic, be aware of the problems, and see how that, you know, it not only can affect animal and birds, it can affect my granny too. So this is a topic that they need to more zero in on and be aware of. And even when they are sweeping their backyards, if they see a bird nest, they realize, oh my Lord, I cannot destroy this bird nest. Normally I would chop it down with a cutlass. But you know what? I'm going to leave this bird nest. And so the bird can hatch and the bird can fly away. And you start from as simple as protecting a little bird nest to a wider consciousness of, okay, I think that highway that they're cutting out at the back of the land, you know, I wonder if it's affecting a dozen birds. So it's just, right now, I'm not pushing it down anybody's throat. I just want them to be more aware and be more mindful that this is an issue and what destroying trees can do, because a lot of people live in lowlands where they have landslide. So they have to be aware of, oh, I realize that it's the tree roots holding up the soil. You have a thing called soil erosion. You have deforestation. If they go and cut down all the logs, then it can affect my granny's house. I can wash away. So see how it affects them as well. So it's just a broad topic that I had to compact to one little book, but I think I did well, and I think
you did well. But I just, although you say you don't want to push anything down anyone's throat, when I was finished reading this book, I said, you know, literature can push people toward activism. We've seen that time and time and time again, and this is one of the books that I think can do that, even though this was not your intention. It was more for awareness, but awareness can lead to activism, and we do hope that people get a copy of the book and do that. But finally, if your animals and your plants could speak directly to our listeners today, what urgent message would they want us to hear?
Yes, definitely be more mindful when you are implementing your projects. Be aware that we grow everywhere and not all of us are bad. Please remember that a lot of your medicines that you're taking come from us, and we are just as important as saving lives. So be mindful how you hurt us. Be mindful that we are part of your nation. Remember that a Dr. Bird is on your passport. So if you see animals such as Dr. Bird important to be your national bird, we should see that in the reflection of your actions that you care for us. And not only the protected species are important. Remember, the other little animals are part of Jamaica. We live in a beautiful island, but it's not just for humans. It's also for animals and plants. And every living organism, every living thing need to enjoy this beautiful island of Jamaica, and we all need justice. That is what the American class would have said.
And would that message be a plea, a warning, or a demand?
That message would be, is just make people look on things from a different angle. And my sister, that is how when I write my book, I show people things from a different angle that they have never. I've never done it before. And sometimes showing people things from a different angle sparks a seed of change. It sparks a seed of thought because you have never viewed the problem. You have never seen it like that. Sometime in life you're talking to people and people say, oh, you know, I never look at it like that. That little thing that they say is going to click something in their brain, how they view the topic the next time it comes up.
And the book is available, of course. Tell us how and where we can get this novel that challenges us to see the natural world.
Amazon. It's available. It's on Amazon.com. It's available in paperback, audio, and the e-version.
All right.
Yes.
Brilliant. Once again, Roger O. Williams, really, really motivated by your work. And also just to say congratulations. You've been doing so much. You've got this social concern. I'd check out activism just deliberately to say that you've got this ongoing concern for Jamaica, for these social issues, health issues. And you don't just talk about them. You write. You do something. You write a play. You write a book, and you do more than write. You bring communities together to act out these plays, and you take them into communities across Jamaica, which is something that I know you're doing even now. So congratulations on doing that, on being doing what, and who you say you are.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. Yeah, man, and I hope Jamaica will see more of me definitely soon, you know?
Well, when you come, make sure you come in the studio again.
Yes, definitely.
All right, take care. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.